Hello and welcome to Raise a Glass, the podcast where we talk about the stories and storytellers that shape us. My name is Eric Lintola.
And I am Hunter Danson.
And Hunter, before we get into our story for today, we have our first Patreon members. We have 3 members of our Patreon, and we have an official bookend friend. And so a shout out to our friend Kyle, who's been a longtime listener and partaker in listening to these episodes. Kyle, thank you so much, and really, really grateful for you. And
yes,
how some of the conversations we've had offline. And hope you're really enjoying some of those contents. After you released some different bloopers on there recently, as well as some grab bag episodes, not just from our most recent episode, the last episode, but also from previous seasons where we'd done some content that is now released in there. I think is there going to be a video released in there too?
Yes, our Dominion playthrough.
Yeah.
And we played a couple games of Dominion. I recorded my screen, and so you can see the games that we played.
That's
and
great.
We comment on
them. And then other really cool content, started releasing some different stories behind each episode. And so hoping to work through all the episodes slowly. And then, I had an idea for Hunter and I. Maybe we'll see if it works out. For future content, but so grateful for that. So excited to have launched that Patreon, and excited for people to be able to get the chance to check it out. I think there's some really cool resources and some really cool extra content that we've created and that will be put on there over time.
Yeah, and you can join for free. You don't have to. We still send updates through it, so.
I'll say though, if you are join as a coffee confidant at $5 a month, or a bookend friend at $15 a month, you'll get those. But we also might do some newsletters going out, maybe for some expectations for episodes. There'll be space to have some conversations with us. I'm really excited about it. I think it's pretty cool.
It's cool.
And so you can be part of the creation of that space, and even give some ideas for episodes, and kind of where how the show's been impacting you, and if there's stories or storytellers that have shaped your life, we want to hear about them too. So check it out. It's our Patreon. It's Raise a Glass 2012 is the so link, and it's in the show notes, of course.
Yeah.
Well, Hunter, today we're going to be talking about Captain America: Winter Soldier. This is a movie. It's been a bit of time since we've done a movie, right? When was our last movie?
I guess so.
It's been a whole my brain just is still thinking East of Eden. I know we've done a lot of episodes since East of Eden, and then we did the space trilogy. But this is a movie that has shaped both of us. But we actually saw it together for the first time, right around this time of year, right? I guess maybe it would have been May. But we'll get into that in a few minutes. So before we get there, Hunter, what is in your glass? We gotta know.
I have one of my favorite local breweries that I've found near me is from Back East Brewing. It's a double scoop IPA, Ice Cream Man IPA, I think. I am normally not one for like citrusy IPA, but this one is just so good. It's like, I don't know, it's like a great marriage of IPA and creamsicle. Somehow it works. So what's in your glass, Eric?
So if anybody here has watched the original Captain America movie and then Captain America Winter Soldier, you've noticed a couple things. No, many things, but one of the main things you've likely noticed is that Bucky Barnes, man, that guy got swole. He was just like an average Joe. And
I got the serum too.
by the second movie, he is. I mean, he's only got one arm, but even his fake arm is jacked. And so I think there's two reasons for that. One, plenty of exercise. He hit the gym. He hit the bad guys, or the good guys in our case. Right, he was a hit man. Second is protein. Protein.
Okay.
And Hunter, when you think protein and you think drinks, what do you think?
Muscle milk.
I
Protein
got
powder.
me some ultra filtered milkshake chocolate,
Nice.
just like you called. That was very impressive. Way to go. This is the Aldi version of. I think Fairlife does a version, probably the name brand version of this, but this is the Elevation, which is the Aldi brand. 30 grams of protein per serving, 9 vitamins and minerals, 2 grams of total sugars, and no artificial growth hormones, which it feels really weird to have to say that. Really shouldn't have ended with that one. But I got me some muscle milk. It's definitely just thick chocolate milk.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's like gray more than brown. But I wanted to bring something that I haven't brought before to the show. And so
It's a finale.
it's a finale.
This is a finale episode.
Nothing more finale-esque than ultra-filtered milkshake. Chocolate elevation. Naturally flavored with other natural flavors. Hunter, what are you raising and pouring out for this week?
Well, I'm going to kind of combine mine because I read this book called Careless People by Sarah Wynne Williams. And it's a memoir of her time basically working at Facebook. From like its early days to pretty recently.
Okay.
And like it's all the but she started working there before I first joined Facebook. I got my first Facebook profile, which was in like, I want to say 2008, 2009 or something like that. And she was there after I deleted my Facebook in like 2016 or something like that. Oh, pre-2016 maybe. I don't know. But no, it was after. It was because of 2016 that I deleted it. But it's also poor because it is so. She was close to a lot of the people in the highest positions at Facebook, including Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg, and in the higher ups, and she was kind of responsible for trying to do international relations for Facebook and come up with kind of a global strategy. She was kind of an idealist, and because she saw the potential that Facebook had quite early on for elections and, you know, democracy, and she came at it as from an optimistic point of view, and she was trying to get them to think about the impact that Facebook could have for the better. And basically, she just tries to make them do good things. She comes from the UN. That's her background. She tries to have them make good decisions about Facebook, and they just don't care. And it's the amount of just negligence and selfishness. It's really, I'm not going to say surprising, because I'm not really surprised by that these days. But, you know, it's one thing to know about it. You know, for example, what happened in Myanmar with Facebook, and how it was used to foment hate speech, and ultimately was a huge part of like basically a genocide being committed.
Huh.
But when you go through it step by step, and she talks about how she was trying to get them to do things to stop this and to, make good things, try to put safeguards in place and stuff like that. And they just wouldn't listen and do anything. So I do recommend it. It's a pretty quick read, and I think it might convince you to delete your Facebook profile. And it's also, I think if you're a millennial, it's also a good read because it kind of goes right through the beginning in the early days of Facebook, which I think only millennials remember now, to now and what Facebook has become. And so kind of a raise and a pour at the same time. So raising a glass to this book and to the author, who's, I think, in some legal battles right now with the Facebook team because she's basically whistleblowing. But also just pouring one out for the negligence and depravity and just the awful atrocities on display. And I'll put some links in the show notes if you want to go deeper into, I mentioned Myanmar. It's really, really heavy. But I think, it's good to be informed.
Yeah, there's a lot of,
and I don't think it's kind of topical to Winter Soldier, to be honest. So we'll, but
I didn't know about the impact of Facebook in the Rohingya genocide in Myanmar and Burma. I was just doing a little bit of research as you were talking about that. Please share more about that. That's directly impacting a lot of refugees, a lot of Karenni and Rohingya refugees who were Christian, and then I can't remember Karenni, but then Rohingyans are Muslim, were persecuted minorities in that grouping. I come at that from a different side of a conversation. Not like opposing side, just like a different entrance into the conversation. So that was, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, for me, I am going to pour one out for bunnies. I'll say I don't really understand why somebody would choose to have a rabbit as a pet, but I've got nothing opposed to that. That's fine. But rabbits are real jerks when it comes to gardens. They just bite the stems off my plants and then just hop away.
Oh yeah.
They've done this on numerous occasions already this year. There's no reason for it. Nobody needs that.
They're hungry.
No, they don't even eat them. They just bite the stem off. They're like, what's the word for being purposely evil? I don't know.
Vindictive?
I haven't done anything to them yet. Of course. But I am going to raise one to something that actually hopefully we'll talk about in a future episode. I don't know if we've really ever done that in a raise, but I am starting to really, really get into the Holy Post podcast. So
I've been listening to that too.
If you haven't got a chance to listen to the Holy Post podcast, I highly, highly, highly encourage you to do so. I just listened to the 2 episodes from this past year that had Bree Stensrud, S-R-U-D is the last letters. She runs Women of Welcome, which is a group of women that actively support and are building kind of a coalition around supporting and caring for and loving on our refugee and immigrant neighbors. Highly, highly encouraged. There's Bob Goff was on an episode recently.
Yes.
Matt
Lecrae.
Yeah, I haven't listened to that episode yet. It sounds like we'll have to do a Holy Post podcast episode.
Alan Noble. I like Alan Noble.
There's some really great people on that. So,
And the I Kiss Dating Goodbye guy.
oh, they had that person on it?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be fascinating. I gotta check that out.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah.
So, Holy Post, I was checking out their Patreon recently to get some ideas for ours. But I'm not a member yet, so I might have to start subscribing to them to get some idea for our episode. But this part of our conversation has already gone on much longer than, well, it's probably not longer than normal. Let's be honest. But it's no shorter than normal. So, Hunter, can you lead us into Captain America Winter Soldier?
Yeah. So it came out in 2014. It was after finals when we went to see it. Eric and I think it's safe to say that second phase era of Marvel, we both really connected over Captain America. Mm-hmm. He was our favorite Avenger.
This is like pre-Spider-Man for you, right?
Yes, pre-Spider-Man. And I really feel that the Chris Evans, Steve Rogers is something special.
Chris Evans as Steve Rogers is as good of a cast as Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man, or as Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther.
So it was directed by the Russo brothers, and basically what happens is after the Battle of New York, Steve Rogers is in Washington, and he's working for S.H.I.E.L.D. And he ends up he's working pretty closely with Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff, and they kind of uncover something suspicious, and then there's a big conspiracy, and I don't feel bad sharing spoilers and it's over a decade old now.
It is 12 years old. Yep.
Yeah, it's hard to spoil this one, but there is a conspiracy inside S.H.I.E.L.D. It turns out Hydra, which is the organization that Steve fought really hard against in World War II, is still alive and has grown inside of S.H.I.E.L.D. and is now enacting a coup. And their plot revolves around these Triskelion carriers that are going to go up with guns mounted on them. And Arnim Zola, who has survived by putting his mind onto a bunch of data banks, has written an algorithm to help them choose targets to eliminate people who supposedly would be opposed to Hydra's plan. So people who, I guess, would stand up for freedom or just stand up for not killing millions of people preemptively. Eric and I that's the basic plot of Winter Soldier. And I think we could talk about more why I think the movie itself is important later. But
so setting the scene, finals had finished. It was a nice day outside. We finally were able to loosen our shoulders, and this is a movie we both had wanted to see since it came out, but neither of us had seen it. It had been over like a month, I think, at this point. But it was still playing in theaters, and so we got a chance to go to the theater. Now, normally, when you go to a theater that late, there's nobody at the theater. But this was still a pretty full theater. Yeah. Right? The theater wasn't jam-packed, but I would say it was probably 75% full. Mm-hmm. And so we get in there, loving this movie. It's going great. People are having a good time interacting with it. And we get right to the final battle scene.
Yeah. When they're all flying around, Sam flies Captain America up onto the Triskelions. They're trying to reprogram them. They have to get into the control nexus or something and switch some cards around. But all of a sudden, in the middle of a huge action scene with all these explosions and guns and fighting, the sound just cuts out.
Completely silent.
Completely silent. The movie just keeps playing for a little bit.
And we all were at first, is this what it's supposed to do? Because we hadn't seen it, right? It was okay, this is a cool decision by the director. And then it just kept going.
Yeah. And then somebody in the theater, someone was shooting a gun and he goes, boom. And then everyone starts doing sound effects for the movie.
We had like 2 minutes. It felt like 2 or 3 minutes of just like straight up sound effects during this battle scene.
Yeah.
It was like, oh no, boom, boom. Because like it's one a crazy part of the movie. There's just bullets flying everywhere and everything's exploding, and it was incredible.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I think they fixed it and then rewound it for us.
And then they rewound past the scene, and so we started watching this again, and everybody's like, oh, I know what's going to happen next. I've never felt so bonded to a theater.
Yeah, that was great.
Than we did in that particular showing. Mm-hmm. And so it is, you're kind of saying why we're sharing it. It's a story that we share all the time. Like, it's one of my favorite stories to share with people about movies in movie theaters, because it's absolutely ridiculous. And it's also a really cool bonding experience for the two of us. Yeah. And so as far as story, and let alone the story itself, and we'll talk most of the rest of the time about the story, but I would say that, that experience was a shaping experience for us.
Yeah. So where do we want to start with this? Because Winter Soldier is, I think it marks a turning point for Marvel.
Let's start there.
Okay.
Go for it.
Because I think if you looked at the movies that came before Winter Soldier, you had, all the first phase, Thor, Captain America, Iron Man, leading up to Avengers. And I'm trying to think, to go to the wiki. Was Winter Soldier the first one after?
I can't remember if it came out where it came out in relation to the Iron Man movies. It came out after it. So it was the third movie in Phase 2, after Iron Man 3 and Thor: Dark World, which were both bad movies. They were both the weakest of their series.
Yeah, they were not great.
Like we had Avengers came out, and then Iron Man 3, and then Dark World in 2013, and those ones were letdowns. They just they weren't horrendous, but they just weren't of the same quality or interest as.
Yeah, they felt kind of like rehashes of the previous films.
It's like your awkward tween
kind
phase.
Of remixed. Yeah.
Like Marvel was trying to figure out who they were. They're like, oh, these things can work together. Maybe people really like the last one. What if we just kind of riff on these characters, but don't tell good stories? And I would say in a lot of people's rankings, those are probably two of the lowest.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden,
Winter Soldier comes out, and it's like Mission Impossible. It's a spy movie. It's not a quote unquote superhero movie. It is, if you look at the plot and the script, and it could be just like a spy movie or an espionage movie or kind of a thriller or something like that. So I think it represents when Marvel realized that they didn't have to stick to the superhero formula, that they could take these characters and use tropes from other areas of cinema and tell stories in that way, and use these characters and take them to new places besides your typical heroes.
Yeah, well, they could build the world out and say, hey, these things have impacted the world now. And so if Avengers happened, then there's some real fallout from this. And there's going to be new world orders. It also, in many ways, marked a major difference between both a difference and a parallel between what was happening in the Marvel universe and in our universe.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have the Stark Tower and everything crazy that happens in Marvel in Avengers, and then Thor: Dark World is almost entirely off world, isn't it?
I don't really remember. There's some weird stuff that happens.
And then Iron Man 3 is just it's fine.
Yeah.
It's whatever. The best part about it, honestly, in my mind, are the Marvel shorts that have come out afterwards. That star, the incredibly famous actor who plays isn't it the Mandalorian?
It's not the Mandalorian. I think his name is Mandalore or something.
No, it's
is it Mandalorian?
It's the Mandalorian. See, this is gonna. I don't know how this is gonna track in the episode itself. If this will be interesting to listen to. But I guess this was not what I was planning on talking about. Yeah, Iron Man 3.
Guy Pearce.
No, not Guy Pearce.
Mandarin.
Ben Kingsley is who I'm talking about. Okay. The Mandarin.
The Mandarin.
And see, yes. Mandalorian and Grogu just came out, which is why I said that. Ben Kingsley, an incredibly famous actor, right? Yes. And isn't he planning on doing? There's a TV show with him coming out playing the Mandarin.
Nah.
It looks hilarious. But that's not the point of this conversation. I'm definitely looking this up. All right. Sorry. Hunter. Captain America, Winter Soldier, adds complexity to this world.
Yes. And I honestly think it has aged pretty well. Considering this came out in 2014, which is 2 years before the 2016 election, this ages quite well. And I also think this is a finale because this has the potential to get quite spicy because of the themes that the Winter Soldier explores.
So if I could add to that before we get to what you're going to talk about, I think that's related. My language for it is Captain America: Winter Soldier adds shades of gray to the universe, whereas it was pretty cut and dry for a lot of the things who the good guy and the bad guy was, and or at least what the good motivations and the bad motivations were in some of these other movies, right? And there's a lot of explosions, and you talk about the superhero theme and approach. Good guy, bad guy, explosions, and there's a lot of that in this.
Yeah,
but so much of the movie is Steve Rogers and Natasha Romanoff trying to figure out with Sam Wilson who they are, like what actually matters to them, like who they are in this new world, and what is good and what is bad, and how to make the decisions about what they're going to stand for and stand against when things are not as explicitly clear as World War II, or as KGB, not KGB. There's a couple quotes early on between Captain America and Nick Fury that kind of start to take on this conversation. Which I think is just makes this movie so interesting. You kind of said a pivot, like our turning point in the series, and allows for different genres of films, like after this, but also for like things like Captain America: Civil War, which like allow for like the villains to be the heroes and the heroes to be the villains. And like they're not necessarily fighting against a bad guy or trying to find a MacGuffin, whatever. Like they're really trying to figure out what does it look like to be in this world, and how do you handle this amount of power when you know it's going to cause damage or it can cause major damage. And so here's the interchange between Captain America and Nick Fury. Nick Fury is saying when he's talking about these Triskelions and these, which are pretty much just imagine the helicarriers from Avengers, or if you haven't seen that, then imagine an aircraft carrier that can fly. Nick Fury says, "We're going to neutralize a lot of threats before they happen." And Captain America responds, "I thought the punishment usually comes after the crime." And then shortly after, Captain America says, "This isn't freedom, this is fear."
Yeah.
And
I wrote that one down too.
And those are a really big foreshadowing for the entire storyline. Mm-hmm. And it's really cool to see how Nick Fury's thoughts change.
Yeah.
From the beginning to the end of this movie. Because by the end of the movie, I would say he's in agreement with Captain America. So, Hunter, how are we going to make this? How is this spicy to you? Where's the spiciness come in?
Well, I think a good place to start would just be to talk about some scenes that have shaped us. It's in no particular order, but since you asked about spiciness, my first scene is the car action scene with Nick Fury.
Oh, that's such a great scene.
It's so cool. It's one that I had never forgot. When I first seen it, I've always remembered. When I think about Winter Soldier, I think about Nick Fury and his AI car action thing. Give me the wheel.
That seems so much longer than I remember it being. I remember it being just like the last 30 seconds of it, but it's like a 5-minute scene.
Oh yeah, it's so cool. So like basically, it starts out Nick Fury is rolling in a Chevy Suburban.
Yes.
And he pulls up alongside a cop, and the cop kind of looks at him. And Nick Fury kind of is like, "You want to see my lease?" And the cop puts on his sirens. So Nick Fury starts to kind of rolls his eyes, pulls over, and then he just gets blindsided by this truck, and all these other cop cars come, and they all have like automatic weapons. And this is clearly like a hit on Nick Fury. Mm-hmm. And it's like so interesting, like just really kind of like AI futuristic, cool stuff. Like, cause he talks to his car to enable propulsion. Obviously it's not a normal car. This is a Shield.
This car
this
can
is
like
Nick
fly.
Fury's Chevy Suburban. All right. Also, lots of Chevy placement in this movie, but But what I was thinking about when I was watching this, probably for the third or fourth time, is that all of the people who are attacking Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson, a black man, are cops. Mm-hmm. Cops wielding automatic weapons with total disregard for the safety of civilians.
Yeah.
Trying to kill a black man. And this movie is spicy to me, not because of the text necessarily, but because of the subtext. And I don't know if it's intentional or if they just kind of stumbled onto it. Probably a little bit of both. But this scene to me is it's kind of like this fever dream of that gets into talking about police brutality and the recklessness that happens, and real racism and violence that happens against black men and women from the police. And this is in New York City. Like, it's.
And it is named in the AI says no police are in this area. So like let's make the note that like it is a subtext. Like it's very clear in the scene.
Obviously these are Hydra agents that are not actually police. But
yeah. They're dressed like police. They're in police vehicles. That's a really I hadn't thought about that. I mean, maybe I had, but I hadn't.
So this is
and Nick Fury ends up wiping them all out.
Like, he gets away.
His car has a machine gun that pops up.
Yes.
And he shoots like all of them.
Yeah. And then he gets out and but they still chase him. There's still more of them. Mm-hmm. chasing him. And then he gets hit by the Winter Soldier. That's how they introduced the Winter Soldier.
And then he gets out his lightsaber and cuts a hole through the ground.
Yeah, he still got that. For what he was Mace Windu.
I mean, it is that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, it's like some kind of plasma cutter thing, and he goes into the sewers, I guess.
Just a side note, at that part of the scene, in this watch, I was like, really? Like, Bucky, the Winter Soldier, could definitely have caught up to him. He cut the hole in the sewers like 10 seconds before he got there. And this is an clearly injured man, and you are a super soldier.
Yeah.
That's not the point of the scene, but I was like, this feels like maybe not quite.
Yeah. So, I don't know how much more I have to say about that scene, but I just wanted to name that. And I think it's a good segue into the subtext of this film.
Yeah. What when you say subtext, are there other pieces or like conversations that are coming to your brain? Like I made a note. It's a scene that I didn't really think was that interesting, but the whole scene with Zolov, where they're back at the base where Captain America Steve Rogers did his base camp, and they're talking to this AI. I was like, this feels like a very interesting conversation for AI, because this is before Age of Ultron, came out, and is obviously before the big push of AI conversations now. And yeah, I don't know. AI is, you have many more thoughts on AI as a whole than I do.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of different directions we could go. We could talk about sentience and the Turing test, or the use of AI in defense and the military, potential uses and risks and catastrophes.
So let me pause here. There are different ways to watch movies. We watch movies in different ways, and one of the reasons I enjoy this conversation is because of kind of where it goes from there. But I think a lot of people watch movies just as a release, and they watch a movie and they're not trying to think deeply about it. They watch it to enjoy it or to be scared by it. Like there's a goal of enjoyment, whether it's to scare you or surprise you or make you laugh or make you cry or make you happy or shock you, whatever it might be. Like there's some type of desire there. And when you're done, you're like, that fulfilled that desire, or it did not. And you judge based off that. We're not a ranking podcast. That's not our interest. There's another way of watching a movie where you watch it, and this is kind of the way I go, and I sit and I watch it, and my goal is to just experience the universe as it is, and then to discuss with somebody about the universe and what was happening within that, and communicating around it afterwards. It's one of the reasons why I can get surprised at turns in movies and TV shows that don't surprise other people, because their goal of watching them is to, like, part of that enjoyment factor is to guess what's happening. And then there's another version of watching a movie, and these are all interrelated. They're probably overlapping circles. That's the goal is to figure out what the movie's saying, what commentary it's trying to make, and how to add onto that commentary and understand that commentary. And I was trained in college how to watch with the second perspective, like immersed, and then to step out and interact with it in the third perspective, for writing papers and like interacting with the world, which you can catch if you listen to our Godfather episode, in our first season. And so you are coming at this conversation, I think, from that third area. I'm still enjoying the second part of it, and I'm slowly moving to the third part. Some of the notes I took down, kind of like hint towards that third one, but I find that it can be really interesting for people who are watching it with only that first perspective to hear a conversation. Like, oh, maybe there is more going on here.
Yeah. Well, I guess my view is that there's always more going on, whether or not we're conscious of it, you know? Like, I certainly, there are media that I approach where I just want to turn my brain off and enjoy it, you know? And I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that in moderation. But no matter what you're watching or reading or playing or listening to, like, it does shape you. And that's kind of what our podcast is about, how we interact with it and how it shapes us. And
okay. Well, you shared a scene. Let me share a scene.
okay.
I say it's a scene. Now I'm really going to make the name. It's an interaction that grows. Sam Wilson. We are first introduced to Sam Wilson in this movie, otherwise known as Falcon. I love Falcon. I love Sam Wilson. I think he is one of the most heartfelt and like whole people in the entire show, in the entire universe. Like he at no point in the universe is wondering who he is until you start getting into the TV show.
Until Cap gives up the shield.
Yeah. But even that, like, he dives into it. And I think I mean, we can talk about it as maybe a different point about the holistic approach and the way that viewers have treated Sam Wilson, because I think he's gotten really shafted in that. Our first interaction and really the first thing that happens in this movie is Sam Wilson is this guy running around the mall in DC, and he keeps getting passed by Steve Rogers.
On your left.
On your left. He yells on your left, which is something that I say still, or on your right. I'll say one of those two. Yeah. That's the thing that's taken from it. And you learn that Sam Wilson, after he got back from his tours, is working at the VA now, connecting with veterans and helping them experience and like talk through their trauma. And that's a very real part of this movie, and it becomes a really real part of the Marvel universe, especially post Blip.
Right.
Experiencing the trauma and the way that impacts your body is pretty real. I mean, they also dive deeply into the Black Panther conversation, and Black Panther is just such a phenomenal movie. But we then, one of the next interactions that Steve Rogers has with Sam is at the VA, where he's overhearing some of the conversations Sam Wilson's having with some veterans around kind of what they carry back with them. And then later on, when Steve Rogers and Natasha Romanoff are like, everybody's trying to kill us, all our friends are trying to kill us, they go to his house, and and he's like, yeah, of course I'll take, sorry, I've got a bug flying around. And he says, of course I'll take you in, right? And then like just jumps on joining their team, and he says this, and this is how I feel. This is how I feel, and this may be one of the reasons I think about like Sam Wilson so much, is I feel like in this universe, like he's the person I'd most likely be. He says this. He says, Captain America needs my help. There's no better reason to get back in. He's like, of course I'm getting back in. Captain America needs my help. 100% would say that. And then a little bit later, when somebody's trying to right towards the end of the movie when Nick Fury is trying to get them to follow him to help track down the extra Hydra agents. Steve's like, I need to go do something before, I can't help you. And so Nick Fury looks at Sam Wilson, and Sam Wilson says, he says this, I do what he does, just slower. and I just... That's just beautiful, right? That's that's what I feel like it looks like. That is ultimately the reason why he was chosen by Captain America, by Steve Rogers, to be next Captain America. Because what matters is your heart and approach.
Yeah.
Because the dream of America is held in an ideal of how you live and approach others, not in how and within that how you wield your own strength and power, right? And who you choose to wield it for, or why, and the motives and the heart of Sam Wilson better than anybody else. At least anybody else in the Marvel Universe who's from America, are like fully, there's a wisdom there, there's a maturity there, and there's a dedication towards others, not with a self-righteous or prideful gain, but with a humility and a sincerity that it's just wonderful.
Yeah.
It's my aside on Sam Wilson. Where do you stand on that? What do you think about that, Hunter?
I think that's great. I thank you, Eric. To be honest, I haven't thought about Sam Wilson that much. I did watch, I think, like the first season of
They only gave him one season.
Which was it? Captain America and Falcon, or something.
Winter Soldier.
Captain America and the Winter Soldier, or something like that. And I don't know. I didn't feel like the writers were like up to the task.
There were interesting parts of it, but then it got better. Every episode got better, but it almost felt like the first season of that show should have been a movie. And then from what I've been able to tell about the movie that came after it, it should have been a TV show. I think they flipped it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I loved what you shared. I think I've shared this before. I really appreciate your ability to immerse yourself. Like, I almost envy it because I am so jaded, and especially when it comes to Marvel. Like, after Endgame, I kind of fell off, and
Endgame was so good.
Yeah,
it was a natural ending. It was
a natural ending, and there are fun things that happen, and I like Spider-Man, but it's like it just doesn't feel like it's really for me anymore. It's and it's hard not to be cynical, and especially when our politics have gotten more real. And I think that's honestly part of it, is like it's not as much fun for me to escape into something like Marvel. But I really appreciate what you say about Sam Wilson, because I think that's true. That's true to Captain America, because Steve was chosen not for his prowess or his skill or his strength. He was chosen because he was a good person.
Yeah.
Because they believed if they gave him power, he would do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in these times, I feel like that's more relevant than ever. And especially after reading this book about people in power at Facebook. Like, if you don't have integrity and character and a sense of responsibility to the world and to other people, a sense of charity and grace, you're not going to get it after you're given power.
That's true. That's not something that comes.
It's not going to come naturally unless there's, if there's someone before all the sycophants come, if there's someone who confronts you and gives you an opportunity to grow, then maybe you can start to develop that sense of responsibility. But at a certain point, when you start to amass so much money and influence that you can just fire everyone who disagrees with you, you're not going to learn it. It's too late. I like to hope all things, at a certain point, everyone is redeemable, but
I deeply believe that everybody is.
Oh, I do. I do believe that too. I just mean that, if you don't have that sense of character and integrity before, it's not very likely that you're going to develop it after you get the character. And I think that's kind of what Captain America is about, at least in the MCU. When you think about Steve's origins, and Sam Wilson really typifies that. I feel like he is the natural successor.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen the new movie. I really hope the writers can bring that out, honestly, because I think it would be really beautiful to see.
So we named Zolov. We named Sam Wilson. We've talked, but we haven't talked too much about. We haven't talked at all about Bucky Barnes. We've talked a little bit about Natasha, a little bit about Nick Fury. Not that the goal is to talk about every single character, but is there a scene that sticks out to you that you want to highlight for the next part of our conversation?
Yeah, I got a couple fun things, before we get into the other things. One is the list that Steve Rogers has.
Write it down.
So when Sam and Steve meet the first time, Sam Wilson tells him to listen to the Trouble Man soundtrack by Marvin Gaye because he missed it when he was asleep. And Steve pulls out a notebook and he's like, all right, adding it to the list. He's got a list of things written down.
I Love Lucy, Moon Landing, Berlin Wall, parentheses, up and down, Steve Jobs, parentheses, Apple, Disco, Thai food, Star Wars, which is X'd / Trek, Nirvana, parentheses, band, Rocky, parentheses, Rocky 2, question mark.
So what's funny about that is in the special features, it's an interview with, I don't know, it's a director or somebody, but what they did for that is in different regions, they changed the list.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like in different countries or?
Yeah, in different countries, they would have different things on the list. And they actually put out surveys in the countries to ask them what was important, like culturally important during those years. Mm-hmm. So like in Germany, I think they had Oktoberfest. In Latin America, they had like Shakira. In Russia, they had disco. I guess disco is like important to Russian culture.
Love that.
And the famous astronaut. Gotta
get me a good cosmonaut.
In Australia, they had Tim Tams. So it's kind of funny.
I've loved the question when you look at that list that his head might have really blown up when he watched Star Wars, and saw Samuel L. Jackson as Mace Windu. He's like, wait, I thought that was Nick Fury.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess another fun thing, actually, there's a line in there that I think gets into Oh, I guess I also had like the Steve and Natasha ship,
Ugh.
which I don't really ship, but I do think that their relationship is pleasant in this movie. Like they're friends.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool that they're friends.
They were like trying to. I think they were trying to be like, hey, could this turn into a romance in this series? And there was no natural connection between the two of them. It didn't really make outside of like friendship. That friendship made sense.
Yeah.
But like, which I think was actually is important to Natasha's growth, to both their growth. Actually, honestly, to be honest, neither of them have friends. And so like this gives them a friend or a second friend.
I will say I thought the choreography of them when somebody throws a grenade into that room when they're on the ship and like Steve grabs her and then she shoots out the window and they dive through the window. That was super cool. Like that was awesome choreography.
There were some pretty cool saves in this movie, like with Captain America. Like also like when the car gets shot up and he like jumps out holding on to Natasha Romanoff and Sam Wilson, and like he's sliding with Natasha and like Sam Wilson like lands and like then like barrel rolls to stay safe.
Yeah. Also the scene with the Quinjet when Captain America takes it out on his motorbike.
Oh yeah.
I was just like, don't you know who I am? I'm Captain America.
All you need is a motorcycle and a shield, and you can take down an entire jet plane.
Yeah. Oh, the elevator scene.
Okay, well, we got to talk about the elevator scene. So, one thing that you might not know about me, if you don't know me personally, is that I have a long time been a fan of Captain America.
Do you still have?
I do. I'm trying to find it.
Cutout.
So for my bachelor party, just almost coming on 8 years ago, Hunter and a few other guys got me a life-size cutout of Captain America to act as the robber for a game of Settlers of Catan that they made that was life-size. Which maybe we can do a live episode in the future where we try to video ourselves playing life-size
board game.
Settlers of Catan. And oh my goodness, I loved it so much. He's still around. I was trying to find him.
I kept thinking he was real when I walked past.
Oh yeah, he scared many people.
We were staying in that place.
I've got many good scares from people off of him. It's and like I had a Captain America poster like throughout some of college and this movie, and so always a fan of Captain America. Really thinks, which I think is part of the reason why I like Sam Wilson so much, is because I think again I've already shared that I think he embodies Captain America really well. And one of the most iconic Captain America scenes in the Marvel Universe is the elevator scene. Mm-hmm. It's in fact so iconic that they parallel it in Endgame. Mm-hmm. And so he gets into this elevator.
Before we get started.
And all these guys walk in, like, kind of, coincidentally. And he's, like, paying enough attention that he's like, no, these guys are about to, like, we're about to have a throwdown here. Mm-hmm. And if you watch the first Captain America movie, and even Avengers, it's like, is Captain America really a superhero? Or is he just like a really strong guy who gets lucky and has a cool shield? Mm-hmm. And then you hit Captain America Winter Soldier, where like it starts with him jumping out of an airplane without a chute, and like then like into the water, and then like just crazy. Mm-hmm. And then you end up with this elevator scene where he's taken on a dozen guys in the elevator who are trying to take him down, who are all Hydra, and it's a ridiculously cool fight scene because it's all happening within like 16 square feet.
Yeah.
And maybe a little bit more. And then he destroys all of them. And he's going to get out, and then people start shooting at him, and he realizes like, okay, he's got to figure out a different way out of this elevator. And so he eventually just jumps out of the elevator. He like uses his shield and like plummets out of it like 15 stories through another glass ceiling onto the ground. Mm-hmm. And the guy who's from Hydra working in the main space is just like, his face is like, he's alive. He just jumped out of, and like he ends up on a motorcycle and like takes down this entire Quinjet, like you named. Mm-hmm. And it's just like absolutely insane. And then he goes back to his house, right? Doesn't he go back to his house after that?
Yeah, I think he finds Fury at his house. Yeah. Which is, I thought the fight scene on the ship between him and Batroc, who's like the main guy. I don't know if you know this, but Batroc is kind of a 2-bit villain that they brought in and kind of changed a little bit to make him fit. He's called Batroc the Leaper.
Yeah.
He's been in Spider-Man, and his thing is that he can jump really high. Which is, I just thought the fight scene was so dumb because Cap like punches him in the head. And I was like, I feel like if Cap punched you in the head, your skull would be fractured. Like, there's just no. And it's also funny if you play any superhero video games like Batman or Spider-Man, and you'll do like a counter, and Spider-Man will just like completely body this guy, and he's like, yeah, he's not dead. Yeah. He's definitely not dead. He just got hit by a freight train in the stomach, like. But he's not. I didn't kill him. I'm a superhero.
Captain America knows his own strengths, okay? He very clearly knows his own strengths. And so when he punches, he's able to punch with the right amount of velocity to do the right amount of harm. We were introduced in this movie to a something that is very true across all Marvel movies, and that's that no one's ever actually dead.
Right.
And so both Bucky and Fury are supposedly dead at different points. Bucky Barnes, in Captain America, he comes back as this Winter Soldier spy from Russia, killing everybody. Mm-hmm. And then Nick Fury dies, but doesn't actually die in this movie.
Yeah.
I think Bucky Barnes' character brings a lot of really interest honestly, through this movie to Captain America: Civil War. Because this movie, Captain America: Civil War, the tension in that movie doesn't make sense without this movie, because it really leans into this fight between Captain America and Iron Man, based off the fact that Bucky Barnes is the one that killed Iron Man's parents. Spoilers. And nobody knows that until this movie. In fact, Nick Fury doesn't even know that Bucky Barnes is still alive. So from there, we end up with this question of who Hydra is and what does it look like and for Hydra to exist and what are its goals. And the conversation with Marlon Zolov, who is now an AI, is sharing that like the goal of Hydra is always about being able to bring control into chaos. Mm-hmm. And what they learned through World War II is that people don't want to have their freedom taken away from them. They'll fight against you forcibly. But the goal over the last 50, 60 years has been to move humanity to a point where they would willingly sacrifice their freedom to gain security, is the language. And I'm going to guess it's from that line that you're going to bring some more spice into this episode.
Yeah, so I watched this with my wife a couple days ago, and she immediately thought of Ben Franklin's famous quote, "Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety." And I think I've heard variations of it where those who would give up some liberty for a little security deserve neither and would lose both.
Okay.
And what is interesting about this to me is I'm going to cite this NPR article, is that the original context of Ben Franklin's quote is actually about a tax dispute between the Pennsylvania General Assembly and the family of the Penns. And NPR brought in I think he's a professor, he's an expert on this, historian, and that's who I'm quoting from. Benjamin Witz, a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution and the editor of Lawfare. And the interesting thing is that the legislature was trying to tax the Penn family lands in Pennsylvania to pay frontier defense during the French and Indian War. And the Penn family kept instructing the governor to veto. Franklin felt that this was a great affront to the ability of the legislator to govern. And so he actually meant purchase temporary safety, like literally. The Penn family was trying to give up they were trying to give a lump sum of money in exchange for the legislature acknowledging that they didn't have the authority to tax it. So the Penn family was basically trying to just give money because they didn't want to be taxed in the future, is the way that I'm understanding this. And so if you think about the quote, those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety neither deserve neither liberty nor safety. So in trying to purchase the Penn family, in trying to take this deal from the Penn family, they're trying to purchase temporary safety because they could use the money to fund defense in the French and Indian War. But if they do that, then it's only temporary safety because then they're establishing the precedent that the Penn family cannot be taxed. And so it's only temporary safety. And so this quote is actually kind of like pro-defense spending, like spending money on defense, using the people's taxes for the defense of liberty. And this, to me, the loops that your mind has to go through really gets into a theme that I'm going to try and bring that I think the Winter Soldier gets into, which is a duality in America between what we dream and what the reality of our country is.
Okay.
Because this quote has been used to has been used against tech companies, and when we talk about data privacy and things like that, when you use something like Facebook, it's not free. It's not free because they are mining your data, your personal data, your birthday, your name, what the things that you like, your purchases, anything they can get their hands on, basically. They are using that data and selling it to advertisers, and they're making money off of you and your friends, and your words and everything you post on there. They're making money off you. They're selling it. So it's not free. And so this quote has been used to say, okay, if you're willing to give that up for a little bit of temporary, I guess in this case is actually more like convenience or enjoyment or safety, something, connection, I guess, then you don't deserve liberty. deserve actual freedom. It's not actually free. But the original quote by Ben Franklin is kind of like almost pro-government in the sense that he's trying to prevent them from giving away their ability to tax people for defense spending. And this ties into the Winter Soldier, because the Winter Soldier is about like the military industrial complex and defense spending. Like, how much do Triskelions cost? A lot.
Yeah.
Millions and billions of dollars. And, you know, you think about President Trump asking for like a $90 billion for ICE, a budget for ICE, and he's asking for even more. Like, just think about your salary in relation to $90 billion. Like, it's insane. And defense spending is insane. If you think about the fact that Trump is cutting like aid funds and stuff, like trying to cut SNAP and things. SNAP is like a minuscule portion of the federal budget when you compare it to how much we just spend on fence. And if you think about starting this war in Iran, how much missiles cost and how much money has been wasted. And that's not even talking about the lives and of American soldiers and also innocent people in Iran and in the war zone. Like, this is this is where it gets spicy. That's not the right word. That's a bad word for that. But
it's where it gets real, is what you're trying to say.
It gets real, yes. And I want to talk about duality, because I think that Franklin's quote is true in a certain sense. And I also think about the national anthem, our national anthem. My favorite rendition of our national anthem is Jimi Hendrix at Woodstock playing the national anthem. Yeah, no, I'm telling you, just it's amazing. Go listen to it. He's playing through 200-watt Marshalls, like through like chords that could like electrocute him and everyone on this. It's like people don't do that anymore. And what he does is he plays so distorted and things, and he plays the national anthem. And the thing about our national anthem is that the tune is really good. Like, the melody is so bombastic and like dramatic. It just sounds really good to listen to. And he plays it on electric guitar. And then in between, he does stuff with the fuzz and the whammy bar and like dive bombing to like punctuate. And this is during the Vietnam War. He's punctuating like this. He's trying to mimic the sound of like bombs falling. And, you know, in Vietnam, they're dropping napalm and stuff and people dying. And he's just like, he's melding it together with this narrative of our country and our national anthem. And our national anthem itself is like that, because the verse that we sing is one verse in a poem that was written, and the tune is set to it's a British drinking song is the tune. And if you go and you read the other lyrics of the national anthem, there's racist lyrics in the third verse. I guess it's not quite as on the nose as detractors would want it to be, but it's definitely problematic. It's basically triumphing over the blood of the hireling and the slave. And if you think about our country's history with racism, and one thought I had watching The Winter Soldier, when Cap is talking to Sam and Sam tells him to put Trouble Man on his list, and Steve kind of lists off like differences. You know, he's like, yeah, there's no polio, like internet is Internet's so helpful. Food's great. Like, the unspoken thing here is Steve is from an era before the civil rights movement. And he's talking to a black man.
Yeah. I'm hearing conversations of government, of who the U.S. is, of like undercurrents of race. We talked earlier in your Raise and Pour about Facebook and social media, and the impacts of that. As the movie goes on, the characters that we find out to be Hydra, they become more clearly evil.
Right.
Early on, they're them as characters. It's kind of hard to tell them from other people. Mm-hmm. And then even when you hear their motives, like you hear Nick Fury saying, I said this earlier, we're going to neutralize a lot of threats before they happen. Mm-hmm. I was talking about this idea of like killing people before they do anything wrong. Or imprisoning them or whatever it might be. And, Captain America is the one guy that's like saying, hey, that doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem like the right thing. But he's like trying to figure out himself. He's trying to figure out who he is. And I think he's built himself in this idea of like, I don't feel like this is the right thing, but I don't know. And one of the reasons I don't know is because I can't tell based off the people around me if they're good or bad. When I interact with them, I don't know if they have just motives, if their goal is the betterment of people. And he actually goes to another one of the best characters in the entirety of the Marvel Universe, Peggy Carter.
Right.
Who the TV show Agent Carter is maybe one we'll do in the future. Just a wonderful, incredible TV show, and a great character. And he interacts with her as she's has dementia. She's older. And anyway, she lived a whole life, and he's talking with her. He's like, I don't know. I don't know what to do. Like, I need help. And like she points him back to himself. And as he becomes more sure of himself, the motivations of the antagonist become clear, and he more fully embodies the American ideal. So I'll give you a visual understanding of that. But before I do that, I want to share that I've had some conversations with individuals in the last year or two about America and who is America. And there's a lot of questions. This was especially a thing that was a lot of people were asking this type of question and feeling the frustrations and anger and challenges of this when we were seeing everything that was happening in Minneapolis in the fall of 2025 through the winter of 2026. And one of the things that remained pretty clear to me is that this experiment to this idea of the United States is going to the moment that what am I trying to say? In the midst of all of this, both sides of the political aisle, I think we're still holding, at least verbally, there's a dual consciousness thing. We're saying one thing and acting a different way. Double think is kind of what you named there. Like had this idea of what could be true and is true of this country, of it being a community, a country of freedom and liberty and justice for all. And there is, even though there's complete disagreement on so many things, And we both find ourselves, landing on certain sides of these conversations in different spaces. There's still an agreement of what this country is supposed to be, of what the dream of this country is. There's very different ideas of what that dream will look like when it's fulfilled, maybe, and kind of examples of that. But it's still a very similar dream. And it's once that dream is lost, this country's done. Once Americans no longer believe in the idea of what America could be, and by that I mean, like, what comes to your mind about what the ideals of this country are, right? What we see written on the Statue of Liberty, what we have heard from parents or grandparents or great grandparents, as far as, maybe not how they were welcomed, but the life they were able to build in this country. What we think about when we watch things like Hamilton and read about the goals of the Constitution and the amendments, right? These are beautiful things. They are fully messed up, and there's so much messiness and brokenness and sin and systemic issues in the midst of this. Like, other people around the world, they don't hold that same dream of America anymore. Now, some people might, but like, I think as a whole, like, a lot of people are like, no, this is very clearly not who the United States is. But we still hold that view. And Captain America as a character, whether it's Steve Rogers or Sam Wilson in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, like, embody that possibility, that future hope. In fact, when other people pick up the shield, they do not embody that. Like, Bucky Barnes could not be Captain America. Yeah, especially in Winter Soldier. But I would make a very strong argument even later, like, because of who he was and how that still holds him back as to who he is. Now, that does not necessarily agree with my theological viewpoint, but within the cinematic universe, I think that ties to the argument there. And so, with that kind of idea, this idea of the dream of the United States and Captain America more fully understanding who he is as this movie's going on, and Natasha Romanoff does as well. She's really fighting with who her identity is. At the beginning of this movie, if you look at Steve Rogers' wardrobe, he's wearing very dark and muted colors. He still has a very similar, he's still got the star, but everything is like shades of gray. It's pretty dark. There's no bright red, and like, part of that is like, yes, it's part of like the covert mission on the Shield boat. But he kind of continues to wear that. But if you notice, the very end of the movie, and this is where we get our wonderful Stan Lee cameo, he goes back and he takes back his original uniform. And so by the end of the movie, he is wearing the bright red, white, and blue uniform of Captain America. And his actions follow that, like, assuredness. He knows who he is. He knows what he stands for. And he's willing to stand for that, even if that will lead to his death. And one of the climactic moment in this movie is him, after, like, they've taken down the helicarriers, or the Triskelion, whatever. He helps save Bucky Barnes, who has had his mind wiped so many times he doesn't know who he is. And he throws down his shield. It ends up in the water. And Bucky Barnes, or the Winter Soldier, is just like beating up on him. And like, you see it. You can see it on his face. He is bruised. He's broken. And he says a line to Bucky Barnes that Bucky Barnes had said to him, we see in a flashback back to when Steve Rogers' parents had died. And Steve is saying, hey, I can do it by my own. And Bucky says, hey, but you don't have to. Like, I'm with you to the end of the line. And he has this moment now where he's saying this to Bucky Barnes. I'm with you to the end of the line. And like this is coming after a scene where Sam has like talked with him, like, hey, like he's gonna be there. You know Bucky's gonna be there, and like he's not the type of guy you save, he's the type of guy you put down. And he wasn't saying that out of anger, out of like, even a lack of trust. And Steve's like, I don't know. I don't think I can do that. And he's allows himself to just get beaten up. He says, I'm with you to the end of the line. And he ends up falling into the water. And you can see at the end, Bucky picks him up and puts him on the shore. And the one thing I'll add to this, because I missed it in the timeline, because I didn't write it in my notes during the movie. I was just too engrossed in it by that point. Is when they first break back into S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters. Yeah. Captain America gives a speech.
Yes.
Do you have that speech written out?
I do have the speech. I got it.
Okay.
I got the script
Can you read that for us?
All right. Got big shoes to fill. Attention, all S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. This is Steve Rogers. You've heard a lot about me over the last few days. Some of you were even ordered to hunt me down. But I think it's time you know the truth. S.H.I.E.L.D. is not what we thought it was. It's been taken over by Hydra. Alexander Pierce is their leader. The strike and inside crew are Hydra as well. I don't know how many more, but I know they're in the building. They could be standing right next to you. They almost have what they want, absolute control. They shot Nick Fury, and it won't end there. If you launch those helicarriers today, Hydra will be able to kill anyone that stands in their way, unless we stop them. I know I'm asking a lot, but the price of freedom is high. It always has been. And it's a price I'm willing to pay. And if I'm the only one, then so be it. But I'm willing to bet I'm not.
I just got shivers as you read that. Because the scenes after that is one of the guys from Hydra like putting a gun to the head and saying, "Hey, of a random person whose job it is to hit the button to to release the carriers." And it's like, no, I can't. Like, I won't do it. Like, on orders of the captain, or of my captain. And, like, it's just...
Cap's orders.
And, like, I feel it emotionally when I say that, when I think of that scene. Because honestly, I think it's because it's ingrained in me of, like, that's part of what it means to be American. Is like protecting the cost of freedom for others at the cost of your life, if you need to.
Yeah.
And like I think that is that aspect of like part of like what it means to be an American is there is really good backing for that in scripture. Like I think there's a good reason why that connects with us as people, because maybe God did the same thing. He calls us to live that way. But it's beautiful, and it stands so far against this idea that we would sacrifice freedom to gain security. Because in response to that speech, so many people in S.H.I.E.L.D. try to offer air support or take down Hydra agents and are just brutally killed. Like, it's a really devastating scene to watch. And yet it's like those I'm getting shivers. I don't know if it's really goosebumps here. Like, those are the heroes. Like, that's what it means to be like that is why that is the resolution of this movie. Like, everything is fuzzy. Like, Nick Fury like thinks he knows what's right but isn't fully sure. Natasha Romanoff thinks she knows what's right, and then it becomes really clear she's not sure what's right. Cap like has his gut feeling of this is right, but he can't justify why he thinks that. And he has this conversation with Peggy Carter, and then he talks with Sam Wilson, and he enters this last scene, and he's like, "I know what is right." And that scene cements it for others. And it comes at a cost. It comes at a very high cost in this movie. It comes at a very high cost in our culture at this particular time to speak truth into power, truth to power, and into moments of like, it's very messy and very confusing right now. Yeah. And taking a stand on anything is a very scary thing to do. Like, not just because you'll lose influence among people. I think most of us aren't actually at the space where losing influence is really going to do anything for us, because we might not have enough to begin with. But like, we're going to have fights in our family. We're going to have a friendship hurt. There's going to be a brokenness in a relationship that we don't know if we can see healed. But it's for standing up for freedom. It's for standing up for what we know to be right, even if we don't understand the full complexities of why what's happening is wrong. Andrew, what do you think about all of that? I kind of went on this idea of what it means to be American, of freedom, of standing up. Is this connect with your watching of this? Do you feel like there's hope in that?
Yes, so I'm going to try to keep this tied to the movie, because I think there's a conversation about deconstruction to be had. This occurred to me when Steve went back to where he came from, the training center where they meet Arnim Zola. Steve, they'd actually do a whole thing where Steve sees his younger self marching past.
Yeah.
My personal journey with this film, when I listened to that speech, I was like very moved. And if you knew me in high school and college, I was more rigid, I think, in my approach to politics. I won't say I was partisan, but I definitely had a more rosy view of who I thought. I thought that the people who said that they were Christian.
Yeah.
I gave them good faith, the Mike Huckabees and those kind of guys. And the 2016 election for me was a time of disillusionment where I'm not going to name names or anything like that. And I want to be clear when I talk about this that I love people that I disagree with. I still believe that they're children of God, but I think they're wrong. And I saw people that I loved, that I respected in my church, elders, start to support Trump. And I could not understand how they could support someone. I still remember the first things that I heard about Trump. He was talking about immigration. And he was talking about they're not bringing their best people. He's talking about Hispanic immigrants, I think. And I was just like, this is just so clear. How can you not see this? When someone says, these people are not bringing their best people and they need to get out, build a wall. It's like, there's no... And I think what I think now is not that people didn't see that. And you have to understand that coming from a Christian background, Jesus says to love your neighbor as yourself. This is Luke 10. It's the parable of the Good Samaritan, 25 through 37. These are people who, profess to follow the way of Jesus. And the way of Jesus is to love your neighbor as yourself. And in the parable of the Good Samaritan, in Luke 10:25 through 37, Jesus talks about this, and he says, someone asks him what is written in the law, and Jesus says, the sum of the law is to love your neighbor as yourself.
To love God with all your heart, soul, mind,
yes.
strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself.
Yes. And then the person kind of comes back, and he's like, well, who's my neighbor? And Jesus tells a story of the Good Samaritan where there is a man who's traveling from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he's attacked by robbers. They steal everything he owns, and they leave him for dead. And then a priest comes by, and he passes by on the other side. Maybe he's scared, or I don't know. And then a Levite comes by, who is kind of like a scholar in the Jewish law. That would have been like saying a pastor walked by and passed by on the other side. And then a Samaritan came by, and Samaritans were pretty hated at the time by the Jewish people who Jesus was talking to. It was a long-running feud that went back a long way. And the Samaritan stops, and he takes care of the man, and he brings him to an inn, and he tells the innkeeper, he pays the innkeeper, and it tells the innkeeper to look after him. And he says, I'll reimburse you for any extra expense you might have. And so Jesus purposely tells a story telling people to love their neighbor, the people that they think are not bringing their best people, or the people on the other side of the aisle, the people that you don't like. And in 2016, I just could not reconcile this. And I want to shout out Alan Noble, who talks about deconstruction in his book To Live Well. And he says there is a sense we have to define this word deconstruction because we use it in many different ways. When some people talk about deconstruction, they talk about destroying everything that has come before. And they talk about this in Winter Soldier. They have a conversation with Nick Fury, and they're talking about like deleting the data or something. And Cap is like, no, everything has to go.
Yeah.
We need to remake this from the ground up. Like, you cannot try and save anything from S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, S.H.I.E.L.D. has to go, and something else, something new needs to be there. And so deconstruction is talked about in a destructive sense, where you destroy everything before. But then there's another kind of deconstruction where it's taking the things that you believe in, and the way that you act in your culture and things, and questioning them to find which is true and good and helpful and which is not, and changing your views, and maybe not changing everything that you believe, but reevaluating what you might have believed before, what you might have been told to believe. Mm-hmm. And I think that kind of deconstruction is healthy. And I believe that's the kind of deconstruction that I went through, and in a certain sense am still going through. Because there were people on Facebook, and this is part of the reason why I deleted Facebook after the 2016 election. I would post things about hate speech and stuff. I believe I posted one about I think Trump made some comments about Muslims, and I found a quote from George Bush during 9/11 where he was telling people not to attack mosques and things like that, and trying to discourage hate speech about Muslims during 9/11. And I had people from totally different areas of my life arguing in the comments section about Islam and Islamophobia and echoing things from their different sides. And I think social media has the internet, the sort of anonymization of the internet allows people to say things that they would not say in person, and express the more extreme views. And especially Facebook. Facebook encourages extremity because their only goal is to grow. And what gets the most views and the most engagement is extreme content. And there's a whole conversation in Careless People about how Facebook really contributed to Donald Trump getting elected, and how they utilized all of Facebook's ad targeting tools to spread misinformation and get voters to turn the swing states and stuff. So I'm sorry, I'm getting
tie
super
this back
off track.
into Winter Soldier for us, please. Because yours came from Captain America said burn it all down. And you're arguing, if I understand correctly, that burning it all down is not necessarily the right answer. The right answer is figure out what was good, what was bad, understand it, and then like winnowing it would be a phrase like see what is worth keeping, keep that. Things that are worth changing, change that. Mm-hmm. And that's a different approach, or did you see some version of that approach as well? Or are you trying to get at the point of the extremity of Hydra? I mean, because that's something that's really clear as it goes on, is that right. Hydra is truly evil, that the people's goals are not in terms of what is actually best for the universe or the world and people, but what is best for maintaining power. And, there's this really gross conversation between some random politician who's a Hydra person and one of the SHIELD people that is actually Hydra, where the politician's talking about what he's going to do later with a younger female. And it's gross. You're meant to realize that's a problem. And so I wasn't sure if you were going to try and tie it into that type of conversation.
Yeah, there's a conversation between Captain America and Natasha shortly after they're almost destroyed, after they talk to Arnim Zola. They're in Sam's apartment, and Steve is kind of like a little more chipper, and Natasha is not. And he asks her, how she's doing, and she's like, well, she was part of the KGB secret program. She's trained in Russia, whatever, to be an assassin, and she joined SHIELD. She says, when I joined SHIELD, I thought I was going straight. And, Captain America parrots a quote back at her that she told him before. And he says, well, maybe you were in the wrong business. And she's... she says, well, why do you seem a little more happy? And he's like, well, I guess I just like to know who I'm fighting. Mm-hmm. Because part of the Cap's problem is he couldn't figure out whether he was good or bad. And
he couldn't figure out whether Nick Fury's thoughts were good or bad. He had a gut feeling, and his gut feeling was telling him to do the opposite of what everybody else was doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And so in a way, this is very podcast cheesy. In a way, for me, and we're talking about how stories and storytellers shape us. For me, the 2016 election was kind of like my Winter Soldier, in that I had to grapple with the dark side of, and I wasn't hyper political, but I cared about politics and government, and I was registered as a Republican, just because my politics were a little more conservative, not necessarily socially, but I believed in small government and that kind of thing. And then I saw all this hate and displays of just the worst character. And I don't think even a lot of Christians who maybe voted for Trump, I don't think they did it because they thought he was a good person. I think that I honestly think that abortion was a big issue, and some people were just kind of like, well, that's the lesser evil. That's the issue that I'm going to stand on. And I have no idea, but
a lot of people,
Captain America, yeah. Sorry.
A lot of people will vote regardless of the party, just for whatever is red or whatever is blue.
Yeah, and that's the problem with the two-party system, and the polarization and all that. But Captain America and the Winter Soldier has to grapple with this organization that is undergoing this crisis of identity, quite literally. Is it Hydra or is it S.H.I.E.L.D.? And, in the 2016 election, that's kind of what happened to the Republican Party, and anyone who was kind of registered in Republican. It felt like, to me, everything was going further and further left or right, and I was staying in the center politically. But I don't think I'm the only one who had to deal with that kind of crisis of deconstructing this identity and having to kind of choose what was really important. And, at the end of the day, politics is a compromise, no matter how good it is. Like, our country was built on compromises and checks and balances. And its government is kind of a necessary evil. Like, if people were good and just, then we could have monarchies. But people are not always good and just. In fact, it's kind of the opposite. Like Madison in the Federalist Papers, avarice has to counter avarice and greed has to counter greed, because that's the status quo, which I guess is kind of cynical, but
yeah, just kind of.
But, at the end of the day, I think Winter Soldier, when Cap makes that speech, the price of freedom is high, and it always has been. And now we have to choose. I think now we all have to choose. We actually have to choose. It's getting more and more real. And I won't pretend that America is... It's not as many other countries. It's much, much more dangerous. But I do think that when you look at what's happening with the Trump administration and what they are trying to do with executive orders, for example, just trying to bypass the Supreme Court and the legislature and do all these powers that a president is not supposed to have. He's really trying to become autocratic. This is a important point in our history, in our country's history. And I don't want to catastrophize, because there's a certain point where somebody says, yeah, well, that's what everyone said in World War II. Like, there's always been catastrophes. But, like, at a certain point, you have to say, okay, this is different.
Yeah.
This is a different step. This is something else.
I've heard it said by somebody recently, if every generation has a thing, a moment that defines a generation.
Yeah.
And that this is one of those moments.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying, or are you saying something different?
No, yes. And I think going back to the duality of this and really trying to parse what you believe, I have to think about the Republican Party and the fact that the current GOP seems totally okay with trampling on freedom of speech, on due process, on so many freedoms that before 2016 they championed with their words. And it's this kind of double think, and it's like they say that they are about trying to stand up for American values when the president is basically trying to legislate from the Oval Office and totally ignore checks and balances.
So here's a question I'd throw to you, Hunter.
Yeah.
And maybe you partially answer this. I feel like a lot of the issue of where we're at now, while highly exacerbated by administration, is really one of the primary players at fault. Maybe even I would argue the player most at fault is Congress. Of the previous multiple administrations, their inability to do their job.
Yeah.
And there's no legislations being passed that are actually working on the best interests of Americans. And there's no willingness there's no willingness holistically to work across party lines towards the betterment of, better care for people and better security.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Even going back to the Obama administration passing executive orders, I was critical then because I was like, well, I might agree with some of the motivation for this and wanting to get this passed, but you like the president is not the legislator. You have to go through Congress. But because of the polarization in our country and the failure of lawmakers to get along and try and get things done, like hydra has been allowed to grow within, like, these things don't just materialize out of nowhere, so yeah.
Isn't it amazing how one movie came out 12 years ago in a succession of superhero movies at a particular moment? Obviously, anything that comes at a particular moment, it's making a commentary, whether it's trying to or not, on the particular time, can have such deep relevance to a conversation a dozen years later and, twice as many movies later in the series.
Yeah.
Hunter, do you have a last thought for us before we end up season 3?
Yes, Eric, I have a poem I want to share, and I want to thank all of you, our listeners, for listening. We're so thankful that you listened. But I believe that poetry says the unsayable. And this is a poem by Langston Hughes called Let America Be America Again. And it says basically everything I want to say about what America means to me. Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain, seeking a home where he himself is free. America never was America to me. Let America be the dream the dreamers dreamed. Let it be that great strong land of love, where never kings connive nor tyrants scheme, that any man be crushed by one above. It never was America to me. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is in the air we breathe. There's never been equality for me, nor freedom in this homeland of the free. Say, who are you that mumbles in the dark, and who are you that draws your veil across the stars? I am the poor white, fooled and pushed apart. I am the Negro bearing slavery's scars. I am the red man driven from the land. I am the immigrant clutching the hope I seek, and finding only the same old stupid plan of dog eat dog, of mighty crush the weak. I am the young man, full of strength and hope, tangled in that ancient endless chain of profit, power, gain, of grab the land, of grab the gold, of grab the ways of satisfying need, of work the men, of take the pay, of owning everything for one's own greed. I am the farmer bondsman to the soil. I am the worker sold to the machine. I am the Negro servant to you all. I am the people, humble, hungry, mean. Hungry yet today despite the dream. Beaten yet today. Oh, pioneers! I am the man who never got ahead, the poorest worker bartered through the years. Yet I'm the one who dreamt our basic dream. In that old world, while still a serf of kings, who dreamt a dream so strong, so brave, so true, that even yet its mighty daring sings. In every brick and stone, in every furrow turned, that's made America the land it has become. Oh, I'm the man who sailed those early seas in search of what I meant to be my home, for I'm the one who left dark Ireland's shore and Poland's plain and England's grassy lea, and torn from black Africa's strand I came to build a homeland of the free. The free? Who said the free? Not me. Surely not me. The millions on relief today, the millions shot down when we strike, the millions who have nothing for our pay, for all the dreams we've dreamed and all the songs we've sung, and all the hopes we've held and all the flags we've hung, the millions who have nothing for our pay, except the dream that's almost dead today. Oh, let America be America again, the land that never has been yet, and yet must be, the land where every man is free, the land that's mine, the poor man's, Indians, Negroes, me, who made America, whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose hand at the foundry, whose plow in the rain, must bring back our mighty dream again. Sure, call me any ugly name you choose, the steel of freedom does not stain. From those who live like leeches on the people's lives, we must take back our land again, America. Oh yes, I say it plain. America never was America to me, and yet I swear this oath, America will be. Out of the rack and ruin of our gangster death, the rape and rot of graft and stealth and lies, we the people must redeem the land, the mines, the plants, the rivers, the mountains and the endless plain, all the stretch of these great green states, and make America again.